Hello everyone, thank you for attending this webinar. So we'll talk today about the chick grading. So to discuss this topic, we will have four major subjects to detail. We will talk about the creation of baseline. We will talk about the most important parameters to record. We will see what is the meaning of the expression of each parameter and how to correct the common issue. We will start with quick introduction. So from the start of the cell division or the embryo development until the obtain of a well-prepared chick for the rearing farm, the egg need 21 days to be spent on the hatchery machines, which represent 30% of the whole life of the chicken, as the chick needs more or less 40 days to become a chicken prepared for the slaughterhouse. So to succeed this relatively short period on the farm, we should start with a good quality of chick, a chick that is able to express his full potential on the farm. So to obtain a good quality of chick, we need a good egg quality and correct incubation conditions. And to obtain a good chicken quality, we need a good chick quality and correct conditions in the farm. So the chick quality is a necessary condition to succeed or to have a profitability for the production process. So monitoring the chick quality has many advantages. The chick quality is the mirror of the breeder farm. So the return of information from the hatchery to the breeder farm will be very useful to maintain or to improve the results in the breeder farm. What I noted is that for big integrations, the discussion and the communication between the hatchery and the breeder farm is a necessary condition. It's always frequently applied in regular basis. So this will help both the production in the hatchery and in the breeder farm to be in good levels. So for example, if we note that we start having some contaminated chicks in the hatchery, if we return this information quickly, immediately to the breeder farm, they will be able to take the necessary measure to correct this problem, of course, if the problem has as origin the breeder farm. Also, the monitoring of the chick quality helps the detection of the possible issues in the goal to correct or to prevent these issues. So if we have a regular monitoring of the chick quality, that is, of course, recorded, and we will see that we have some deviation on this chick quality, so we can take our measures before having a serious impact in our production. The monitoring of the chick quality help also to prevent the farm in case of special needs of chicks. So this will help the good starting of the rearing in the farm. So the measure or the most common parameters that are measured concerning the chick quality is the percentage of cool chicks or non-commerciable chicks that include chicks with physical abnormalities or some deformations or weak appearance, or chicks with low score, or chicks that were dead in boxes. We have also the monitoring of the chick, the first week mortality. This is done in the farm and reported to the hatchery. So these two parameters are very, very important and should be measured in weekly basis and per flock. So for example, for the percentage of chick quality, if we will have the percentage for the whole chicks per day of hatch, it will not be really very useful. But if we will have the percentage of cool chicks per flock, it can give us a good idea about the chick quality. Even if these two parameters are important, other parameters can give us deeper idea about the chick quality. So what are these parameters? They can be divided into two main groups, the qualitative and the quantitative parameters. So for the qualitative parameters, we can have the vivacity, the behavior, the presence of deformities, the aspect of fluff, leg, navel, hocks, beak, and abdomen. So here we can notify that the appreciation of these parameters here is more subjective than objective. It's based on the personal appreciation that can differ from person to person. For the quantitative parameters, we can set scores, chick weight, yolk free body mass, chick yield, the rectal temperature, the percentage of uniformity. So we will detail one by one these parameters. So what we want from our chicks is to be active, reactive to stimulus. When he is lying in his back, he will return quickly. In this case, we can say that our chicks have good vivacity. Concerning the behavior, it concerns more the way of acting of a group of chicks. It's a parameter that doesn't concern the individual aspect for chicks. It's more about the group. So to appreciate this parameter, we can observe the way of distribution of chicks into boxes. We expect a homogeneous distribution of chicks, and in this way, we can say that we have good behavior. We expect from our chicks to be free of deformities, no crossing beak, no absence of eyes, no multiple legs or exposed brain. So of course, if we will find one or two chicks with deformities, it's not really a big issue. But if this deformation is present in many boxes, or we have a high rate of deformities, in this case, we can start asking if we are not facing some issues. For the fluff, we expect to have nice yellow fluff, free of dirtiness, brilliant. Legs should be well hydrated and free of deformities. The abdomen should not be swelling and not dehydrated. The navel should be well closed and free of dirtiness. So for the navel, this is a qualitative parameter. So we can convert this parameter to a quantitative one, which will help us to compare between flocks or to monitor the evolution of this score for the same flock between days of hatch. So for this, we propose the following scoring method. So if we will apply this method of scoring, we will classify our chicks into one of these four categories. For the first category, we will include navels that are totally closed and clean. For the second one, we will include navels that present black dot with less than 2 millimeters of diameters. For the third navel, for the fourth category, we will include chicks that have a navel with the black dot larger than 2 millimeters of diameter. And for the last category, we will include chicks that present a part of their yolk outside their body. So to consider that our flock is with good quality of navel, the majority of chicks should be classified in the first category, with no chicks classified in the last category. Concerning hocks and beaks, so we expect that we have the absence of redness on these parts of the body of chick. And if they are present, they will be less than 3%. For the leg abnormalities, they should be less than 0.5%. So for scoring, we have two common scores used on the field. We have the TONA score and the PASGA score. So the score is a way to convert the qualitative parameter into quantitative parameters, which will help us to compare between flocks. So it's a manner to convert this appreciation based on qualitative parameter to an objective score that we can evaluate on time and between flocks. So for TONA or for PASGA score, we have more or less the same parameters to evaluate. They evaluate the activity, the physical appearance of the chick, including the legs, the beak, the eyes, the navel, and the abdomen. The difference between these two scoring methods is that for TONA score, it's based on 100 points, and the higher score corresponds to the higher quality of chicks. For PASGA score, it's based on 10 points, and also the higher score corresponds to the better quality of chicks. Concerning the chick weight, I know that in the hatchery and in the farm, we like measuring this parameter, and it's very known that we are evaluating the quality of chick regarding to his weight. But in reality, we should keep in mind that the chick weight don't include only the carcass weight. It's composed of the carcass weight and the yolk weight. Of course, the increase of the chick weight can correspond to the increase of carcass weight, but also it can be a result of the increase of the yolk weight, so a non-full absorption of the yolk. So more than that, many studies don't correlate the chick weight with the results in the farm. A better parameter to consider is the yolk-free body mass. It represents the chick weight without the yolk weight. So to measure or to monitor this parameter, we should sacrifice chicks. That's why it's not really a very common parameter that is used in the field. And I can understand this, but it's useful to consider this parameter from time to time. Many studies confirm the correlation between this parameter and the results in the field. So in this graph, we try to represent the relation between the yolk-free body mass and the chick weight. We can see that we can have an increase of the chick weight that doesn't correspond to the increase of the yolk-free body mass. So another very important parameter to consider is the uniformity percentage. It should be higher than 85%. So this is a very important parameter, as if we have small chicks and big chicks that will be sent to the farm. So a certain competition between the chicks will be installed on the feed, and we will have always the big chicks that will have bigger carcass at the end of the rearing period, and we will have not homogeneous flock that will be sent on the slaughterhouse. So it's recommended to be attentive about this parameter and to monitor it to have an idea about our chick quality. So concerning the chick yield, some studies confirm that we have a certain correlation between the chick yield and the first week mortality of the farm. It can be calculated by reporting the average of chick weight to the average of egg weight. So if the purpose is to evaluate the incubation conditions, So it's recommended to measure this parameter at the cheek pool. It will be before the cheek processing. It's just at the cheek pool. Our purpose is to evaluate the cheek storage conditions. This will be done if we have a long period that will be spent by the chick on the hatchery after the chick's pool, so before the delivery. So we will measure the chick yield at the chick room. So what is expected to have is to have a chick yield between 67% and 68%. This is the optimum rate. We will have, in this case, active chicks that will be eating and drinking in the farm. If the chick yield is lower, so chicks will be dehydrated with low yolk weight and not be active in the farm. And if the chick yield is higher than the optimum, chicks will not be active and not interested in feed or water in the farm. So concerning the rectal temperature, this is an easy parameter to monitor, and the monitoring of this parameter is quick. So for this also, if our purpose to evaluate the incubation conditions, so the measurement of the rectal temperature should be done at the chick pool. If our target or our purpose is to evaluate the rectal temperature for the chick room conditions, so the rectal temperature should be measured in the chick room. Why this parameter is so important? As we know, those chicks, for their first life, they are homeotherm. So they are not able to control their body temperature. Their body temperature will be influenced by the environment where they are. So if they have some issues with their body temperature, this can be corrected by the temperature of the environment where they are. So what is expected is to have a vent temperature between 39.4 to 40.5 degrees Celsius. Here we propose a checklist to record the chick quality. To monitor the chick quality, we included the most important parameters to monitor and the most important information that we need to monitor flock by flock. So to have useful results after the monitoring of our chick quality, we need to respect some conditions on the sampling. So chicks should be sampled from different places on the trolley, so from the top, the middle, and the bottom. It's better to avoid the first and the last box. So we should include different flocks. We should be attentive about differences between machines. For big hatcheries with high number of machines, it's not easy to evaluate results machine per machine, but at least we should be attentive. If we remark that we have some issue or unusual results on one machine, so in this case, we should evaluate results on this machine and evaluate chick quality on this machine to see if we have some issue to correct. For subjective parameters, it's preferable to be evaluated by the same person, and the same thing for scores also. So we will go to the third topic, and we will see what we can understand from expression of each parameter. So if we have weak chicks, the most probably we are facing a high incubation temperature in the hatcher or low ventilation in the hatcher, or an excessive fumigation, or maybe we have contaminated chicks. If we have weak chicks that are also dehydrated, so the most probably we have a high incubation temperature in the hatcher. If these weak chicks are with swelling abdomen, so we can think about low ventilation on the hatcher. So if we have deformities, malformations, or anomalies, so this can be related to bad conditions of transport of hatching eggs. So transportation jerks can have this result. The same thing with inadequate turning. High or low incubation temperature can do the same thing. Also, in the breeder level, the presence of some diseases or nutritional deficiency can generate these malformations. So if we have sticky chicks with albumin on their fluff, so this can be caused by low incubation temperature, leading to non-full absorption of the albumin, or high incubation humidity, or improper turning also, or long storage. Also, if we have eggs from old breeder, they can have this aspect in case of insufficient ventilation. In fact, they have bigger eggs and they will need higher moisture loss. If this aspect appears with tomato smell or dead in boxes or omphalis, so in this case, we can think about contamination. The most probably, we are facing some contamination issues. The origin of this contamination can be the breeder farm with floor eggs or contaminated nests or egg manipulation process. For example, non-cleaned eggs when we are collecting, or non-cleaning hands when we are collecting eggs, contaminated conveyor also, or non-well controlled egg sanitation, or egg cleaning method that is not correct. So if we are removing the cuticula when we are cleaning eggs, the cuticula is the first barrier to stop the microorganism to be into the egg. So if we are eliminating the cuticula, this will have a bad influence on the egg quality and by consequences on the chick quality. On the storage process, bad microbiological air quality or sweating eggs during storage can cause contamination. On incubation process, the air quality also, or the contaminated equipment, or high humidity in setter or hatcher, as the high humidity will give a favorable environment for the microorganism proliferation. Inadequate ventilation will have also the same result. Concerning the egg transfer process, contaminated equipment or non-disinfected hands when we are handling eggs can cause contamination. For the navel quality, if we have non-closed navel with dry fluff, so we can suspect that we are facing a problem related to high incubation temperature, as chicks will hatch before the full closing of their navel. Incorrect pooling time or high humidity in the hatchery can cause also this problem. If we have non-heated navel that are bloody with dry fluff, high temperature during incubation can result in this aspect. If we have a non-closed navel with wet chicks that are smelly, with soft abdomen and big belly, so we can suspect that we are facing a low incubator temperature or high humidity in setter or hatcher or inadequate ventilation. But also we should wondering if we are not facing some contamination. Concerning the red hawks and beak, so this means that our chicks faced some difficulties before hatching to get outside the egg. So this can be caused by thick shells or high incubator humidity or low incubator temperature. So these red points prove that the chick spent a long time pushing on the shell during peeping and hatching, trying to get outside the egg. So some vitamin deficiencies can be also an origin of this problem. But also if chicks are pulled early, we can have this aspect. As chicks hatch with already some redness on their articulations and their beaks. A high distance also between belts during the chick processing can cause this aspect, of course, if we are using automation. So concerning the chick weight, if we have low chick weight, the first thing that we can think about or suspected is the small eggs, as it's proven that the chick weight is correlated to the egg weight. It can be also related to low humidity during the egg storage or incubation that will lead to a high egg weight loss, or thin or porous shell that will have the same result also. High incubation temperatures can lead also to low chick weight or high altitude, as with high altitude we have a low concentration of oxygen. So the embryo will be forced to use an anaerobic reaction to generate energy. So he will not use the lipids on the yolk to generate energy, but he will use the reserve in glycogen present in his muscles, resulting in the decrease of the muscle's mass. For the chick yield, if we have a chick yield lower than the optimum, we can think that we are facing a too long incubation period or high incubation temperature. If the chick yield is higher than the optimum, so maybe we are facing too short incubation or low incubation temperature or high hatcher humidity. Concerning the uniformity, if we have low uniformity, so as we said, the chick weight is correlated to the egg size. So the first thing that we can think about is the egg weight that is not homogeneous, and this can be a result of some diseases on the breeder farm, or it can be the mixing of eggs coming from different breeder age, as the egg size depend on the breeder age, or with the mixing of eggs coming from different strains and breeds, but also different storage period or different storage conditions, or non-uniform ventilation setter or hatcher can lead to the decrease of uniformity. So if we see a visible vein in legs, like we see here in this picture, or we see a wing feather like a broom, like this picture, so in this case we can think that maybe we are facing some dehydration caused by high temperature on incubation, or low humidity on hatcher, or early hatch, or large hatch window. So the first hatching chicks will be dehydrated. Concerning the rectal temperature, if we have panting chicks with dropped wings, stretched legs, and if we arrive to see chicks that may become unconscious or die, so in this case we are facing our chicks are out of their comfortable zone, and the most probably their rectal temperature is higher than 40 degrees Celsius. If we have droopy, hunched up chick position and crowded chicks, so the most probably also our chicks are out of their comfortable zone and their rectal temperature is lower than 39 degrees Celsius. So concerning the behavior, if we have panting chicks, this means they're increasing their respiratory activity because they are facing a heat challenge or a heat excess. So this increase on respiratory activity will require a lot of energy, leading to an increase of the water loss and a decrease of low chick yield. So if our chicks are crowded, so they are probably cold, we will see that they will try to decrease their hot loss as a reaction to this cold environment by decreasing their blood flow to maintain the internal temperature, and increasing their surface of insulation by their feather, like we can see here in the picture. So our chicks will also increase their heat production by an imperceptible muscular tension with feather erection, like we can see here in this picture. Chicks will also be grouping to decrease the heat exchange surface. We can see an example here in this quick video. Chicks are grouping, trying to decrease the heat exchange. So how we can correct these issues? So if we have some problems with the vivacity, or we have some deformities, or red hawks or beaks, or dehydrated chicks, or bad quality of navel, or omphalits, this can be a result of incorrect incubation conditions that lead to incorrect egg weight loss and a long hatch window. But also the chick pool conditions can lead to a decrease of the chick quality, can lead to some problems related to the chick quality. So we will discuss the incubation parameters one by one. So for the temperature is the driver of the incubation. It's the increase of the temperature will start the cell multiplication, and it's a necessary condition to maintain the development of the chick. So in its first period of incubation, the egg is endothermic, and in his last stage of incubation, the egg is exothermic, as we have development of the embryo with active metabolism and release of heat. So for the first period of incubation, the egg need to be heated. And for the last period, we need to remove heat. So this is the purpose to maintain an eggshell temperature between 37.8 and 38.6 degrees Celsius, but also to be sure that we are given the right temperature to read the egg. We can have a look on the incubation duration that should be around 504 hours, and to our hatch window that should be around 24 hours. So if we are facing some issues related to the temperature, how we can correct this? So first of all, we should be sure that we have a correct calibration of the setters and the hatcher in correct frequency. The dampers should be also calibrated. We should have well-sealed machines. The heating elements should be working correctly. The fan speed also should be appropriate. We should be sure that we have not plugged cooling water strainer. The conditions in the cooling water should be correct. We should avoid the long transfer time to avoid the cooling of eggs, and we should be sure that our eggs in the machine during the transfer are not cooling, as in some occasion we are shutting down the machine with the transfer of the first relay. Also, the room conditions should be corrected. Concerning the ventilation, the role of the ventilation is the remove of the excess of CO2, of humidity, and of heat. So, and to give to the machines the necessary level of oxygen. So if we are facing a low oxygen level inside the machine, or high humidity, or CO2, or temperature, So we should verify if our dampers are calibrated and they are well opening and regulating. We should be sure that our fan speeds are well configured. We should verify our room conditions and verify the differential of pressure between the room and the plenum. So concerning the turning, the role of the turning is to help the development of the vascular area of the yolk sac membrane. So this is the first respiratory surface, and one of its role is to veiculate nutrients from the yolk to the embryo. It helps the development of the coriolanthus membrane. It has also a respiratory function and help to veiculate minerals from the eggshell to the embryo. It influences also the uniform removal of heat from the embryo. So if we are facing but turning, we can see some malposition or malformation or an incomplete development of the coriolanthus membrane or an excess of urates. So this can be a result of the bad turning. In this case, we should verify if our turning is well calibrated and well working. So if we have, concerning the egg weight loss, what we expect is to have an egg weight loss between 11 and 12% with single stage, and higher than that, between 12 and 13% with multi-stage. This is because with single stage, we have a closed damper during the first 7 days. However, with multi-stage, it's always opened. If we are facing some issues related to the egg weight loss, we should verify if our humidity sensor in the machine and in the room are well calibrated. If our dampers are well calibrated, the machine fan speed also is correct. We should verify the humidity in the room and the pressure in the plenum. Concerning the hatch window, it can be monitored by the profile of the humidity. Like we can see here, we have a presentation of the profile of a humidity on the last period of incubation in a hatcher. So here, the increase of the humidity tells us that our hatch window started. And the decrease of the humidity tells us that we arrive at the end of our hatch window. And then we can see that the humidity becomes more and more stable. So what is expected is to have a hatch window length of 24 hours. And the cheek pool should be from 8 to 20 hours from the peak of the humidity to avoid any dehydration or an early pool of chicks. So concerning the behavior and dehydration, as we said, the room conditions have also an influence on the chick quality, especially if chicks are spending a long time on the hatchery. So after the chick pool, of course. So we should guarantee for our chicks the right environmental conditions. So we expect to have between 24 and 25 degrees Celsius for the temperature and between 50 and 55% for humidity on our chick room. If we are facing problem concerning the uniformity, as we said, we should verify all parameters that can influence the egg weight, as mixing different flocks. So we should avoid mixing eggs from different flocks, age, or different strain. We should avoid to mix eggs from a different storage period, as we will have different egg weight loss and large hatch window. So concerning the contamination, what we can do if we are facing a contamination issue, at the breeder farm level, we should maintain sanitary conditions. It seems very simple, but I know it's not really simple at this point. The fact to guarantee that we should to collect eggs with clean hands, it's not easy to guarantee. So, but it's very important at the point that if we spend some efforts on this, we will have good results in concerning our egg quality and concerning our chick quality. We should have a correct frequency of egg collect also. Concerning the storage, we should avoid the reception of fluor eggs, and we should avoid the sweetening eggs during the long storage period. At incubation and egg transfer process level, we should avoid loading of fluor eggs. At my experience, I noted that if we evaluate the economical advantages or profitability of incubating fluor eggs, we can see in the majority of time that the profitability will be negative, as the fluor eggs will impact clean eggs. And if you have exposing eggs in the hatcher, we will contaminate our clean eggs, and this will impact both our hatchability and our chick quality. But if it's not avoidable to load fluor eggs, at least we should identify these eggs and leave them on the bottom of the trolley and the hatcher, and treated them at the end of the process. The same thing for the flocks with problems. This is to avoid to contaminate our equipment during the egg processing or chick processing, to avoid the cross-contamination between flocks. Also, the regular microbiological monitoring of the hatchery will help us to act in preventive way. So it's preferable to have microbiological monitoring in regular basis of the surface, the air, the water. So what we expect from our hatcheries is to have at last product an active and awake chick, free of physical defects and infections, with nice color and smell, hydrated, with good healing of his navel, and with uniform size. So thank you for you.
Thank you very much, Hedia, for this great presentation with a lot of information that you share about chick gradings. Thanks again. We had quite some questions, which our colleague Carolina and myself already answered. We have one remark, if you don't mind. It's from Eddie Van Leert. He said, when you were presenting the chick weight for the chick yield purpose, he said that this should be made at the takeoff and not in the chick room. Do you have some information to complete that?
Yeah, so of course, if we are evaluating the incubation conditions, this should be measured, the chick yield, at the chick pool, so before the chick processing. But if we have, if the chick will spend a long period on the hatchery, maybe we will want to evaluate the impact of the room condition on the chick yield. So in this time, it will be also useful to evaluate the chick yield regarding these conditions in the chick room.
Okay, so this is a possibility to get the control of the incubation itself just after the machine, so at the chick pull out, and also after that to control the chick room condition. So it's two ways to use this this way of control. And thanks a lot. There was a question about that Carolina already answered, but if we can have your point of view about the percentage that you show about the naval quality. These values are mainly suggestion, right? Because there is other parameter that can impact those values.
Yes, of course. So this is an internal scoring. So we propose to use it, but we should, concerning the chick quality, concerning the qualitative parameters, it's depend on the company. So some company, it depends on the goal of the company. So some companies are more strict than the others on their evaluation of the chick quality. So we give this as a proposition. It's not, it's an internal way of scoring, but it's up to the companies also to stand up their levels and their goals.
There is a question said that you always mention high incubation temperature as the cause of chick quality. What is the allowable incubation temperature?
So the incubation temperature is related to many factors. So it depends on our equipment. It depends of the strain. It depends. So the most important is to have an eggshell temperature that is right, and the other parameter that can control if we having the good incubation temperature is the length of our incubation period. So if the length is correct, so we will have a good incubation temperature. We rely more on these two parameters, the length of the incubation duration and the eggshell temperature.
Okay, that's a combination of both that we have to relate so that the chicks has at the total of period of incubation the correct energy and heating and temperature correct. What should be the minimum and maximum weight range for good chick quality? I mean, I guess there will be some variable depending the flock and the
of course. Yeah, of course we have many variables that on what we can base or judge our chick quality. So the first parameter is our egg weight. So it's relative to the egg weight. It's relative also to the breeder age or the breeder strain. It's the storage period can also influence the chick quality. So maybe the better parameter to evaluate is the chick yield than the chick quality. So this parameter will give us an idea if the chick has the most profitability from the egg.
So the last question before I finish is something related to the storage. What is the allowable storage age of eggs to achieve good chicks quality? Is there a relation between the storage and the chick quality?
So it's more when we talk about the storage, we have an influence on the chick quality, but the bigger influence is on the hatchability. So what we say is the egg storage can be a reason of the well-healed novels or some non-total absorption of the albumin. So the storage can have some influence on the chick quality. What we allow is to have 7 days of storage. It's okay. So it will not have a big influence on the chick quality, on the hatchability.
Yes, and then it's depend. We talk about broiler or layers, then you have also the possibility of spidings, and so there's a lot about the relation between storage and chick quality, but that's a good base. So we are at the end of our presentation today. Thank you very much to all attendees, and if you still have some question, you can always contact us in Chickmaster website, and we will be glad to answer and take your question. So thank you very much, Hedia, for your presentation. Thanks to Carolina for the help, and thank you for all our attendees. We wish you a nice day, afternoon or evening, depending where you are in the world, and keep safe with the actual situation over the world. Thank you very much.